Hello and welcome. It is UK Cowboys TV Season 1, Episode 53. We are flying through the episodes. Yes, this week we did have a guest scheduled. He's scheduled for next week. We'll explain at the end of the show who that is. But this week you've got the four of us, the full Celtic Crusaders of UK Cowboys. A lot of C's in there. Don't know if you noticed that. But anyway, this week we've got Paul, Graham, and Brian with us. How are you all doing, guys?
Good evening.
Good. Can't complain.
Yeah. We've actually, in terms of Cowboys news, it's quite an interesting week. Yeah, I mean, we'll touch on that in a moment. Obviously, this week we have the NFC East. It's the NFC East show. So we're going to look at the Eagles, the Redskins, and the Giants draft and roster predictions for the season based on their schedule as well. Schedule coming out as well on Thursday on the exact dates of the who, the what, and the when. Don't worry, that wasn't a cough for... You'll also notice I'm wearing...
Thank God we're isolated.
You will notice as well, though, I'm wearing a number 29. That is for good reason. Keep an eye out on Friday why that is being displayed. But first off the bat, guys, I'm going to ask you about Andy Dalton. So I'm going to go in reverse alphabetical order. Okay, so that's Paul. Some quick alphabet work there. Andy Dalton, mate, I know you posted up during the week when it happened, kind of like on the fence, really, with the signing. What do you make of it? Just the initial thoughts straight off the bat.
Solid backup, definitely. Absolutely solid backup. I mean, at first, like, I wasn't too sure. Like, I didn't know the ins and outs with regards to the contract and stuff like that. Like, I was like, the first thing that popped in my head is, like, I see if he's earned a fair amount of money, but no, he's actually on quite a bare minimum. Yeah. Like, when you think about it, he's like, he could have got offered a lot more money from elsewhere.
Definitely. I mean, when you take into the fact as well, Cooper Rush has left town this week. You could really say that they're cutting Peter to pay Paul, if you like. I don't know if that's the way you see it.
It's basically, well, from looking at like when you compare Rush and Dalton's, like how it affects the salary cap, it's not that much of a difference at all. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we all know how we kind of feel about Cooper Rush. Like, we knew he wasn't going to be a legitimate backup. Like, he was just pretty much like, and no disrespect towards him, but he was just more or less there to fill up the squad. I felt. I know it sounds horrible to say that, but now I feel a lot more comfortable the fact that we do have a solid backup that has been to the Pro Bowl, that has won a play. Like, he has won one playoff game with Cincinnati, I believe.
Yeah,
in the wild card, and
no, I don't think he won. I don't think he's won a playoff game.
Has he not? Well, either way, like he knows how to win games anyway. Like he's got the experience. It's been 9-10 seasons in the NFL. So, and his reason, and from what I heard, like the reasons he came to Dallas, he just wants to be home. He already has a home in Dallas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he went to TCU, which is not far away from Dallas at all. It's like probably a ton about 10 miles away from the main city block of Uptown and Downtown and McKinney and stuff like that. So, overall, I mean, I'm not thrilled, but I'm just glad that we've got a solid backup in case anything does happen with Dak. That's it.
Yeah. And also, I think as well is a good protection there for you if anything does go astray, shall we say, with the Dak signing. But Graham, give me your take before I fill in too much of probably what you're going to say, mate. What's your take on the signing?
I like it, to be quite honest, but with limitations on it, and I'll explain why. at this point of the season, they're only using the cap space that's available to them. You're not going to go out and sign somebody for, the money you were going to pay Andy Dalton. I mean, I know there's guys still out there, but you wouldn't give them that money, because if they were going to get that money, somebody would have paid them it by now. I mean, we're talking in the region of $7 million, so it's a large chunk of change. I mean, I don't see any reason not to spend it, because to go in to get a player of that caliber for that money, you're going to have to trade for somebody. You know what I mean? And our draft capital is already minimalist. It's not bare bones, but it's we don't have excess, if you know what I mean. So to have a player like Andy Dalton, who has started every game he's been fit, just looking at his stats now, 8 years in the league, he started every game he's been available for. He's always throwing more touchdowns and interceptions. But there's a reason the Bengals are moving on from him. I think he does have his limitations, which is why he was a second-round pick. He does have his limitations. The Bengals have always been loyal to him. I think that's why he's been there that long. But when you find a new head coach has come in and he doesn't have the same kind of ties, they've obviously gone with Joe Burrow for the future. Dalton, wrong side of 30 now. I like the move, but I see some silly comments on social media that Dalton should start for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Let's settle down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason the Bengals don't want him. I mean, it's not like, we could get a quarterback number one. We better shift Dalton. No, they're moving on from Dalton for a reason. The guy has limitations. But in saying that, I don't know if he's ever had the running game that we do. Will Dalton come in and manage a game for us? Yeah, absolutely. We can win the game on the ground. I mean, I always, regular listeners know, I'm always of the opinion that if your QB goes down, your season is done. But with Andy Dalton, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. So just to add on top of that, it's like, you just mentioned like the season that. I mean, now we've got the whole wide receiver core on top of that, and not to kind of give Dalton any freeway to why he kind of been bad in Cincinnati. Like, he did have a bad O-line for a while as well. Like, compared to that's you know what I mean? So, but again, I'm not using that as an excuse, because some of the things that Dalton did do were inexcusable. Like, some of the interceptions where he was throwing to, you're like, what were you doing? You know, so
he is very loose. He's very, very loose with the ball, is what you could say. I mean, what you've got to remember is people are saying, Andy Dalton, like you say, great, with the ridiculous comments. I get to you now, Bri, on a take for Andy. One thing you can't forget is Dalton, with everything he did do well, his shortcomings, you can't take away from the fact that he probably, at a particular point of his career, had one of the best receiving cores in the NFL. When you think about what he had, which included the tight end, Tyler Eifert, who at the time was on form, was playing at a high level.
I would say he was probably up there along with Gronk at one point.
He was close, yeah. They would, you could say, especially if you want to go down fantasy road.
He was balling it.
Yeah, at a time when tight ends are very far and few between, he was one you could go to and be like, here we go, I've got myself a tier 1 tight end.
Yeah.
So although he had that, and the Bengals did actually have quite a good defense, the Bengals defense at that particular time were quite good. He still had shortcomings. So people will say like, Dalton, this, that, and the other. You can say, well, yeah, okay, he had a bad O-line. The Bengals team were struggling, but you can't discount the fact that he had one of the best receiving cores and a decent defense, and they still failed. But for you, Bri, give me your take, but also tell me, what is it about Andy Dalton's strength? I just spoke about his weaknesses, but what is it that he does well? What are his positives?
like for me, the thing that stood out over the weekend was it was another transaction which made sense for the Cowboys. To bring him in, $3 million. I think it's either Graham or Rich has beaten the drum for the whole of last season and said, if that goes down, Cooper Rush isn't the replacement. It's Jerry will go out and pick up someone. So now we have someone on the team who can actually come in and play in a game. In 3 or 4 seasons Rush was with us, he threw the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
You couldn't bring that guy in. I saw a lot of, mumblings on all our social media outlets from people starting to say, oh, yeah, right, that's going to light fire and Prima Donna Dak is going to sign a deal. And I had to restrain myself from doing a Richard Jones and calling people clowns. Mm-hmm. Because that's exactly what you're being if you're trying to say Dak is going to be replaced by Andy Dalton. He's not. No, right? No. As you said, we've made the points in terms of what his weaknesses are, but let's look at his strengths and go, right, okay, the guy is a good game manager.
Right.
And for us as a team, we like a game manager at quarterback. Now, Dak is a lot more dynamic in that he can also use his legs, he can use his feet. But our primary weapon is to hand off the ball to a running back. He's never had a running back like Zeke behind him, and that would be primarily what would happen if he had to come into a game. It's literally hand the ball, put it into Zeke's stomach, and let Zeke do the work. He's not had an offensive line behind him, so let's see what would happen if he came into a game and had time where he could start, as you say, like he has had great receiving corps, but he's never had a great offensive line. So he'd now have that, and maybe with that little bit of extra time, he'd start carving up teams.
Yeah.
Just something to add in as well. See what you're talking about, like people's comments and that. I have to admit, some of them were absolutely hilarious. But if there is one thing I can tend to agree, the competition level is going to raise up substantially. Because Cooper Rush didn't really bring anything to the table. Because it's always been Prescott's role. There was no one there that was going to be I know Dalton knows he's there to be a backup, but he can still come in and put Prescott to excel himself even better as a quarterback. So that's the only argument I can see from some people's comments, but the majority of them, it's a Richard Jones 101.
Very true. Now, just one other note I want to say as well that I think makes the signing, a double-edged sword, if you like, is it's not just a good backup for Dak. He's also a veteran quarterback, which is going to help Ben DiNucci in his development.
Oh yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned that DiNucci, and who's the other one? Is it Clay Thornton? Yeah. So and these guys are like year one and a rookie, so. Yeah. The amount of knowledge, there's no some like Dalton can still pass on. It's like see what I did wrong here. See what I did wrong here. Don't do that. Don't do this. He can pass on that. We all know he's not really. He's no the greatest quarterback of all time. We know that, but he can still pass on valuable information for these up and coming quarterbacks. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. And then just as one little statistic for you, which is quite fancy. Is Andy Dalton and Kellen Moore actually played against each other.
Boise and TCU.
Yeah. You what, sorry?
Boise and TCU.
Yeah, in the 2010 Fiesta Bowl. So, Andy Dalton's offensive coordinator is a guy who beat him in college. Just a little statistic for you that cropped up.
Can you imagine what the quarterback meetings are going to be like with the OC?
But let's get into the NFC East then, guys.
Yep.
We're going to start off with the Giants, all right? So if you want to bring up your notes or whatever you've got, we'll first break into the Giants 2020 NFL Draft. Now, I'm going to come straight off the bat and go, I like the Giants 2020 draft. I liked it, but I also hated.
They did well.
Yeah.
They've addressed their biggest needs.
They addressed need, which was offensive line. They took 2 tackles and a guard. I like that. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
But apart from their first 3 picks, the rest of their draft I did not like. Now, the first 3 picks are amazing. You can argue about the first pick, Andrew Thomas. Right? Yeah. But we did say on this show that the first 4 tackles that were on that list were very few and far between. The one thing I will say Andrew Thomas had over all the other tackles was mobility. His mobility was far superior to the other guys, although we can argue about 40 times and all the rest of it. I mean, just general mobility. The next pick they had Xavier McKinney.
That's a good steal. That one.
That's a good steal. Yeah. And then, as I say, it was after that it was Matt Peart. The rest, I'm kind of, it's a lot of linebackers. Cornerbacks that I'm not impressed about. But hit me with it, Paul. Give me your take on the Giants draft then, mate.
I'm genuinely surprised they didn't go for any skill players, wide receiver. None at all. Very surprised.
In a draft where there were a lot of wide receivers.
Exactly. Yeah. The amount of talent that was in that draft for wide receiver, like not even just the first one, but the second one, like there was Pittman, there was, the names were endless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just look, right? If you're talking about that, I know Brian is our roster guy, so he'd be able to go through this. But I mean, have you seen what they've got? They've got a lot of names, right? A lot of bodies, if you like, personnel in the wide receiver department. But if you go through the list and look at the names, you just kind of like go, and you kind of go through it like, and you go, Golden Tate, I remember him. What's he done though? Yeah, okay. And you go through it, Sterling Shepard. Ooh.
And then that's
Corey
Coleman.
Corey Coleman, another one where you go, this is a name I recognise. Wait a minute.
It's nothing, no offence, but he's nothing but trouble. That's been, what, two or three teams in the past season?
Yeah. Very fast guy, but for some reason he can't seem to stay on a roster.
No.
And then really the only other guy, but I do actually quite like him, was last year's rookie.
Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
Darius Slayton,
yeah.
And I know there's David Sills there as well. But, I mean, I know we've drifted from draft to roster, so we'll come back. I mean, for you, Gray, you're looking at the Giants draft. Is there anything apart from wide receiver you think was missing? Or do you think it was a good draft generally?
It was a good draft in terms of protecting the quarterback and running the ball.
I actually like.
To look at the Giants draft, I'm only going to echo what Paul was saying. To look at the Giants draft, you go, oh, well, they must have got a wide receiver in free agency. No, they didn't. No. If anything, they lost Cody Lattimore. So if anything, the Giants receivers have got arrowed down on some serviceable guys. I don't think they've got any game winners. Their wide receiver core is serviceable. It's, if anything, below average, I would say. You do recognise some names on there, but you're going, wow, see if the Giants can't run the ball, they'll struggle. The other thing is it's a very, very young offensive line if they're going to pitch all those guys in. Three offensive linemen in the first 5 picks.
Yeah.
So it's clear.
I'll tell you this, like that Giants O-line are going to have a nightmare when it comes to playing the Heroes and the Redskins defensive lines.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. This is obviously when we get to the schedule side. This is the next part we'll come to. But for you, Brian, anything on the Giants draft you want to add?
Yeah, like the draft needs I had for the Giants were linebacker, which they took 4, offensive line, which they took 3.
Yeah.
Safety, which they took one, obviously, with Xavier McKinney. Then their other two needs were tight end and wide receiver. As we say, the fact that Sterling Shepard is the wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even be our wide receiver 3. No one is going to be scared of them coming out of the backfield. But also the fact they didn't add a tight end. Like, they have Evan Ingram, Toilolo, Caden Smith, and Dickerson. That's their tight end depth. They have nothing there.
I quite like Ingram. Go on.
Yeah, I'm saying. Yeah. I think Ingram's actually quite a legitimate good tight end, to be fair.
I do, but the thing is, Ingram has missed game time with injuries, and they don't have anything in backup.
That's probably why I've not seen as much highlights, to be fair.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that with Evan Ingram, he gets a lot of targets purely on the basis, because it was even the same with Eli, but he's getting a lot of targets purely on the basis that they've got nobody else to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
I know obviously they've got their running back, but you can't give him every snap and every pass. They talk about one-dimensional. But I mean, that's why I think it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? He's overloaded, if you like, which a lot of passing.
Yeah.
Go on, Greg.
I think their game plan is quite obvious to see in what they've done over the off-season. They want to run the ball and play defense because they've spent a lot of money on Bradbury. They spent a lot of money on Martinez. They've brought in Frackwell as well. So they beefed up the linebackers. They've kept Leonard Williams. They've supplemented their offensive line. So I think it's clear to see they want to run the ball and play D, which isn't, so many teams have done that in the past. Don't sleep on the Giants. I mean, I had to go at their wide receiver core, but everybody's got to have a weakness somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, go on. If you've got something to go there, Bri, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not forget the guy who is now their offensive coordinator, certain Mr. J.C. Garrett.
Hey, look.
Is he calling the plays though, or?
Look, right. As much as
all over it.
As much as
please play a 4th and 1 and still decide to punt it, please.
as much as we all know what Garrett is like, one thing you can't take away from him though is he does have the NFC East pinned down.
Yeah,
well, I disagree.
No, he was a good. He would win for the East, but go on, give me your take.
Everything's different now, Chris. We've got Mike McCarthy now. It's all different. We don't know.
Jason Garrett. Look, yeah, agree. Definitely agree.
Redskins have got new head coach and but the personnel, yes, because he will know the cores of each team. He will know how to get at Dak. If anybody's going to know weaknesses, it's going to be him. So he probably only has to go across the hall to the D coordinator to spill all the beans. So but that's football.
Yeah, that is football. I can totally agree. Okay, now obviously we know what we'll do that they've done to try and keep their quarterback upright. That was obvious with the draft. In terms of their opponents, so let's go through first of all their home teams, if everything is to stay as it is, right? So obviously they've got Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, right?
Yep.
Their other teams then are the Cardinals, the 49ers, the Browns, the Steelers, the Bucks, right? Now, let's just go through so we can evaluate, if you like, where we think they're going to be at the end of the season. Are those home games? How many wins do you think that they've got there? And let's go their lowest number, what you think is going to be, and then the very best you think they could do on home games.
On home games? Lowest number for me would be 2.
So, hold on. Yes, I agree. 2 would be the very lowest.
And the highest, This is giving it a push. 5.
Yeah, I can see where you're going there. 5, I agree.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I was to say they were going to get 5 wins at home, I think it would be Eagles, Redskins, Browns, Steelers. I think they would get a home win off for some reason.
Maybe it depends if Big Ben's playing or whatever. Now,
yes.
but I was thinking more. I was thinking more towards I think they could even beat Arizona potentially.
They could, yeah, because they're building, if you like, and obviously you've got the Bucks as well, and they're a team sort of in limbo.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I'm kind of going with the Brady train on this one. I think the Bucks will actually beat the Giants.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I mean, of course, we're saying there that that's 5 home wins, and that's the maximum. That would be the best that they could get away with. Have you, Graham? Have you got a different number there? Highest and lowest?
I would go lowest of 2 and highest of 4.
2 and
4. That Cardinals offense has taken a huge step in the offseason.
Oh yeah, we made Hopkins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about that. I forgot about that.
The 49ers, they are who they are. They'll still.
The D-line will slow that offense down.
If the Browns can get their act together, they've added a couple of tackles. Steelers, Big Ben's on the out for me. I don't know if the Steelers will do much.
I'm like
Buccaneers, I have to agree that they might have found the missing piece because they certainly have the skill position. And the Eagles. Yeah, it depends what they've got at wide receiver, the Eagles, because it's very, very young.
Just depends who shows up, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the Eagles on the road. Don't forget,
Yeah.
I mean, see, when you consider the Giants' offense in terms of age, you've got a second-year QB, and you would imagine 2 rookies on it with Barkley. So they have an out ball, but it's not going to come together so quickly for them, particularly in the first season. So,
I agree. Yeah. A lot to fall into place. But what about you then, Bri? Home games, you're under and you're over.
0.
I am going to go. I'm just while you guys were chatting, I was just looking at the roster again and just go back to one of the things they didn't address. They didn't address quarterback. They picked up Colt McCoy in free agency, but Colt McCoy is not going to be a regular contributor, and they've Alex Tanny. So I was just looking through the roster and looking through their schedule, and I can see the Giants going for a big fat 0 and trying to draft Trevor Lawrence. I can see that because looking at who they're playing at home. It's very hard to pick out a win. Maybe the Cleveland Browns. Maybe.
So you don't think their first round selection, though, Daniel Jones is the guy then?
No. Like that was one of the things I wrote down when I was doing out my points for them for the draft. Yeah. They've drafted quarterbacks in 2017, 2018, 2019. Yeah. 2 of those guys they cut. And I don't think Jones is a quarterback at all. I don't think he's good enough. No. If you want to win a Super Bowl, Daniel Jones is not your quarterback.
Okay. I mean, he does suffer with fumbleitis, so I will give you.
Just completely unrelated, do you think this might be the first season where teams might actually purposely lose to try and get a better slot to get Trevor Lawrence?
There'll be a couple of teams, I think, that will be tanking. I don't know if it'll be the Giants, though.
I think the Jags will be, but that's a different story. Sorry. I just thought I'd add that in
there. They are a team looking for that. But what's your overscore then, Bri? On
2.
home? 2. Okay. 2. Right, now they're away teams. I know, man. Woof. He is stingy.
Sorry, Giants fans, and we know you love us.
UK Giants, yeah. They've actually been talking about doing a NFL UK meetup but just Giants and Cowboys. So that would be quite interesting. Yeah. I haven't gone into that, but we'll see where that goes. Right, now, obviously, there are away teams. You got the three. You got Cowboys, Eagles and Redskins. Then we've got the Baltimore Ravens, Chicago Bears, Cincinnati Bengals, LA Rams, Seattle Seahawks. So I'll go reverse. No, actually, I'll go you, Gray. What is your upper and lower score on the road? Bear in mind, this is Giants on the road.
Yeah, there's every chance they win more away games than they do at home, in my opinion, because the Bears are in turmoil at QB.
Yeah.
The Bengals are the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Ravens always draft well. That will be their toughest game. The Ravens always draft well, and they've got a QB that can do things on his own. There's every chance they go to the Redskins and get a win. Going into FedEx and not FedEx, Lincoln Financial and AT&T. Nah, and Seattle's always a hard place to go. So I would say they could split it. They could well split it, and the Rams as well. Obviously, the Rams have hemorrhaged talent.
I think they lose.
I think they're on the decline. The Rams.
Every chance they split the Rams and win. Yeah.
Well, I still think they lose. The Rams lose. They lose to the Rams purely on the basis of Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
They got a collapse in D-line there. A D-line that can collapse down on that running game. Because that's a guy who's just for a guy. When you look at Aaron Donald, you go, how is the guy so small who plays defensive tackle so disruptive? I don't get it.
He's reinvented the position of a nose tackle. He's reinvented it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be over 300 pounds, 6'5", and take on two guards and a centre or whatever. And that what Aaron Donald does is just pure athletic ability. He gets quick step, gets into the gap, does what he needs to do. He's reinvented it. It's like
it doesn't make any sense, does it? When
it's unreal. Just unreal.
It doesn't make sense. But okay, then what's your under and over then, Gray, on away games?
I would say a minimum of. You know what? I'm going to give them 3. Minimum of 3, and a max of 5.
Okay then. What about you, Bright? You're under and over on their away games.
I'm going to go again with the under 0.
Yeah.
I really am, and the over is 2.
I love it.
I'm sorry, Giants fans, and you can say this back to me at the end of next season, but I really, really can't see them winning games. As we said, maybe the Bears, maybe at the Bengals, but everywhere else they have to go, it's absolutely killer for them.
Yeah, they are playing teams that can beat their strengths. So what about you then, Paul? Under and over on the away schedule.
Minimum 2, maximum 3.
I like it. Okay, so that means quick math. So that means that Graham, you're saying that they could have 5 wins minimum on the season, which and a maximum.
They got 4 last year.
That's right.
Last year.
Yeah. They would have increased in their wins, so it's all about making progression. A maximum of 10. Paul, your minimum of 4, maximum of 7, and then Brian with a minimum of 0, maximum of 4. So they'll have no wins, or they repeat what they did last season.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on then, guys, to the Redskins. So I'll ask you first then, Paul. What did you make in terms of the Redskins draft? Bear in mind, they did take quite possibly the best player in the draft this year at number 1.
I actually think they did quite well. They've covered multiple positions. They got a couple of skill players. They got a running back, got a wide receiver. They catered some of the linebacker positions. Even got a safety, 2 defensive ends. But yeah, I find they actually did quite well in this year's draft, and obviously they managed to get the best player of the draft, which was Chase Young, and I'll be blunt, I'm worried when we play against Washington's defensive line because they've really stacked it up.
Yeah.
So they have. So, aye, but if I was to, if you would like how we graded our draft, we graded it as an A. I would still grade the Redskins as like a B plus, close to an A.
Yeah, that's where I'm with. I'm exactly in the same place as you. Although, they took a guy I was banging the drum on, Keith Ismail. They took him center. They took a running back. I was quite surprised that they took in the third round, but they took Andy Golden. And that fills a need for them because their wide receiver core was, bar one guy, was a little diminished, if you like. But okay then, Bri, I know you're looking at the depth chart there. Give me your take on the Redskins draft.
So, the immediate thing that stood out to me was they didn't pick up any cornerbacks. They're quite shallow there. They've Kendall Fuller, Jimmy Moreland, I'm not sure if Foster or Fabian Moreau, and Ronald Darby. They needed to add a cornerback, and they didn't. Again, like the Giants, they're light at tight end, didn't pick up a tight end, but then they addressed the other areas they needed in terms of their O-line, linebackers, and wide receivers. Yeah. So I'm not gonna knock the Redskins for what they did. As we said, I wouldn't agree that Chase Young was the best player in the draft. I thought it might have been Isaiah Simmons, but that's me. That's a personal opinion I have. But you couldn't blame them for taking him at number 2. Absolutely not. I mean, if they had stood pat at number 2 and not taken Chase Young, they would have gotten dog abuse.
Yeah.
So they drafted smartly. Considering they didn't have a lot of picks, like they didn't have a second round pick. They've drafted well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I quite like the draft. I think in terms of teams in the NFC East that drafted, I think the Redskins were number 2, if you wanted to rank it that way. Cowboys 1, Redskins 2. What about you, Gray? How do you see their draft?
The draft I like as well because no-brainer at number 1. They didn't have a number 2, and they got straight down to business with picking receivers with the 3rd round and the 4th round pick. So they recognise that they need skill position talent, and they've only gone and supplemented that nice defensive line. So they did quite well. They're not premier receivers, but they are viable options. And they've laid the groundwork. They have laid the groundwork.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about perhaps what is Adrian Peterson going to do for you this year. I mean, this is a guy who's properly aged now on the roster. So that could be their 3rd round pick, trying to cover themselves in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, they've added running back. They've added 2 running backs. Peyton Barber.
That's right. Yeah.
And Desus is coming back as well.
And Bryce Love.
Yes, and Bryce. Well, yeah, and you can't forget Bryce Love was a very decent running back. I mean, was it ACL he tore?
Yeah.
Before the season started.
Peyton Barber as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to throw this in there as well. They also were quite clever in that they took Shadiq Charles in the early 4th, and then traded Trent Williams away. They made sure they got their guy before they gave away the guy. So I know they didn't get the picks they really wanted, considering they said they wanted 2 first-round picks for Trent Williams.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I thought they were a bit in cuckoo land there with that one. But, they got a guy, they traded away, picked up extra picks to help them out. So again, you can't both give them credit for it.
Yeah. I mean, something can be said, mind you, for Charles. He is developing. He's going to be a development project. But I agree. Now, in terms of the Redskins' schedule, it's actually not too bad for these guys. I know there's a team, trying to rebrand themselves and work themselves up. They're making the foundation work great, as you mentioned, Paul, with the D-line. So I'm going to start with Graham on this one. Their home teams for the Redskins, obviously Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, the Rams, who we've spoken about, the Seahawks, then we've got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Panthers. Now, for teams at home, that's not a bad schedule.
No. My only concern is, do they have the skill position players
this is it,
to take it on? They certainly have the D-line, but I don't know if the D-line's necessarily going to win you the game. It'll keep the score down, but I don't know if they're going to strip the QB every quarter and run it back for a touchdown. So that's... I still think that the skill position players, obviously McLaurin, is it McLaurin?
McLaurin, yeah.
He's in the second year, and he's a weapon. If you lose him over the top, he's gone. So they do have talent there, but they've brought in 2 running backs and Lattimore for good reason. So, but they've just looking at their additions as well. Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller have been good players lately. So their defense is above average. Yeah, definitely above average. When you take the whole unit, but their D line is premier. So
and they've got good players in their linebacker core as well. Like despite he's had his controversy of Ruben Foster, but he's still a good player. And also you got Ryan Kerrigan, who is just a seasoned veteran. He's pretty much the Redskins version of Sean Lee in their opinion.
Like you say, Ruben Foster, never bet against an SEC linebacker. They will always come back to bite you. But give me a run over, Gray, on their home score, if you like, then.
I would say a minimum of... Do you know what? I'm gonna be a wee bit harsh on them, but I'm gonna say a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 5.
Okay, no problem.
Because you don't know how their skill players are gonna do. The Ravens can play D. If the Panthers get a lead, they can run the ball to death. I think they'll take care of the Bengals. We don't know what the Rams are going to be, and again, it depends how quickly the Giants gel as an offensive line unit. But again, this is why they play the games. It's this close for a reason. So a minimum of 2 and a max of 5.
All right, then. So I'm going to go to Paul next. He's looking like he's deep in thought on this one. So what have you got for me on your over and under, Paul, and your take on the Washington Redskins home schedule?
Minimum of 3, max of 6.
Okay. So where do you think those 3 games that are tippling you were coming from then? Is that the Rams Seahawks, is it?
I think they can still beat the Eagles. That's my... Also, the Bengals and probably... Well, the 50-50 one was the Giants, but I still think they could probably beat the Panthers because we don't know what the new coach, Matt Rule's going to be doing for them. I think they're still in a rebuilding stage. I don't know, but that's the minimum of 3. But if you were to put my maximum, it would be the Giants, the Eagles, Bengals, Rams, Panthers. Oh, that's... Sorry, I miscounted. It should be minimum 3, maximum 5, sorry.
5? Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
All right.
Maximum 5.
There we go then. 3 and 5. Anything different for you, Bri?
I would say 2. I would say maybe 3 and 4 is min max.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me a max. Where are they coming from then?
I think they could take 2 of the divisional rivals, and I'm not discounting the fact they could take us as well.
Yeah.
It all depends on when they get their divisional games.
Yeah.
If they get 1 or 2 of those in late November into December, and especially as Paul kind of alluded to with the Eagles, I think that's going to be a defensive battle. They're just going to beat the living hell out of each other. So I could see that being a low-scoring game, which they might come through. If then they're playing us in that same time period in December when it's going to be raining, there's going to be snow in Washington, that could slow our offense down. And I think they're due to give us one. You know, I definitely think they're due to beat us. Like, you know, it's a new coaching team, but I mean, it's a coaching team with a lot of experience as well. Like you've Ron Rivera, Scott Turner, Jack Del Rio. They're 3 very good coaches. I'm not going to knock any of them. So you could see them coming up with game plans to do it. And I think, again, you could be right in terms of taking a victory against the Panthers as well. Mm-hmm. Like Matt Rule and Joe Brady, you just don't know what they're going to have. You know, they're both really good college coaches, but what do they actually have when they get to Carolina and start playing at NFL level?
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be 3, and then maybe they shock someone.
Okay. Yeah. All right then. So I'll go with you next, Paul. Yep. The away games. So we got the Cardinals, the Browns, the Cowboys, Lions, Giants, Eagles, Steelers, and 49ers. So a fairly similar schedule to the Giants in that sense.
But I think it's what most of them are supposed to be about, because they had them as their home games.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And Veterans have now got them as the away games.
Right.
A lot more difficult.
A bit more finicky in it because it's away.
Yeah. Giants maybe. Eagles. No, I don't see them beating Eagles at home.
No.
You know what? I'm gonna go with 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with the lowest number. Who are the 2 wins on the low number there then?
It might be the Cleveland Browns and potentially, and God forbid me for saying this, the Steelers.
Okay, so you think the Lions could get the drop on them then?
I think they could.
Okay.
Because as much as they had a really bad season, I think the Lions, they could actually have a comeback season. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of being all epic and trying to make up a fairy tale of the NFL here, but you know what I mean? But I don't know. I just don't really see them beating Detroit for some reason. I don't know why. Excuse me.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with the Lions is they can be that scrappy team that you see them and you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna, and all of a sudden out of nowhere they start scrapping to get the win out completely out of nowhere. They are that weird team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, did they not beat us?
A couple seasons back.
And it wasn't Stafford; it was the quarterback.
I don't know. I have to go.
Am I making shit up?
No, I think
no. There was a season where the Lions beat us, but I think Stafford was the QB.
No, I think Stafford was quarterback for us.
Oh no, we won back. Last year we won back. We did win eventually.
Yes, that's right. In the fourth quarter. But I tell you what, Gray, give me your Washington Redskins away schedule over and under.
a minimum of 2 and a max of 4, because they're picking. I mean, a couple of points I've not said so far. They're picking second in the draft for a reason.
Yeah,
obviously. And Brian, you might have it, you might not. Who is their starting tight end for the 2020 season?
Jeremy Sprinkle.
Have they got rid of Reed? Have they?
Jordan Reed, they cut. Yeah,
he's been cut.
So
They got rid of.
They dropped Moss as well. They dropped Moss as well, didn't they, in the draft?
Yeah, but they picked him up through undrafted.
Yeah, he was undrafted.
Shut up.
Yeah, Thad Moss.
Yeah, he was undrafted.
Yeah.
That is criminal.
So you can see where I'm coming from when I talk about their skill players.
Yeah.
They could. I think they. Do you know what? They might go into Pittsburgh and win. It all depends on Big Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my exact thoughts. That was my exact thoughts.
You don't know where he is.
Again,
you can say the same with Matt Stafford as well, mind.
Again, and also the Cleveland Browns didn't win the Super Bowl for some reason last year. I don't know why. That was. And then you've got questionable offense. I think the Lions' offense is questionable if Stafford isn't on his game.
Yeah.
Steve Stafford's on his game and he's chucking 60-yard passes.
Man.
You know.
Yeah.
I always.
It's weird.
You're going there for some reason.
It's weird. It's like the Lions just have that inconsistency. Like, they could be one of the hardest teams you could play against, regardless what time of year it is. But but sometimes when one player's not in sync, they all fall over.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't get past their skill position players.
Yeah.
I know they've got McLaurin, but
Yeah.
that D line, it's amazing, but it's only going to do so much for you. It's not. I don't think it's going to win you the game.
Yeah.
No,
it's going to
agree.
be in the game,
Yep.
but I don't know if it's going to be enough to bring you the win.
Okay, Brian, will you just quickly give me your over and under, and we'll move to the Eagles. So, what's your lowest and your highest away wins?
3 and 4, and that's giving them a win at the Giants, win against the Browns, a win against the Lions, and then maybe the Steelers.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, we're all the same on that one. So I've got them down on an average of 6 wins. Season. You got Graham on a minimum of 4, maximum of 9. Paul on a minimum of 5, maximum of 9, and then Brian on a minimum of 6, maximum of 8. So we're all in the same sort of ballpark.
Yes. We're not too far apart.
No, not at all.
I think going by that, it shows that we recognise their D-line and we recognise their defence overall.
Yeah.
That's where the kind of maximum of 9 comes from.
Yeah.
But the minimum is low as well. Because you don't know what these guys are going to be. I mean, if they come in and they find a 1,000-yard receiver with 10 touchdowns, there's every chance they could be closer to 9. But who's it going to be?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now let's go to the dark side. Right. Let's go with the Eagles draft. Paul's itching to take it away. Now, a lot of talk, not just between fans, even the media, about the Eagles draft. I mean, we've spoken about their first pick, Jalen Reagor. There's obviously Jalen Hurts, who was taken next. I mean, this was a draft that was a little disjointed, shall we say. But one thing I will say I was quite impressed with is they managed in the 6th round to take offensive tackle Prince Tega.
Yeah.
Now, that is a brilliant value pick. I mean, Prince Tega, he hasn't long been playing football, but he's an ascending player and has been in college. If you look from day one to the day he finished, he was always getting better. obviously he still needs a lot of development. You know, he's playing in the NFL now. But I think that was probably their best in terms of steal, their best draft. But what did you make of the draft, Paul?
Shit.
Hit me with it.
Is there a mic you could drop? Sorry.
Yeah.
I make sure. No. And on a serious note, it was probably the most. Other than the Packers, it was a bit weird. Like, we knew they were going to go wide receiver in the first round, but it wasn't the wide receiver that we all thought they were going to take. Because I think we all had Reader going in the second round.
Yeah.
But the second round, jeez, where do we begin with that? That to me just comes to show that they're just using Hurts as an insurance policy, if more than anything. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I'm so confused with the Eagles in general. Like, they're a complicated bunch of people. You know what I mean? Like, they really are. Like, but again, in fairness, they have catered some other positions. They did manage to get other wide receivers in the 5th round and the 6th round, which is fair enough, because they are in desperate need of all the teams in the NFC East. They need wide receivers the most, because we saw it last season how, like, Aguilar, Tyron Miner's bloody name, played for Tampa. He got injured as well. I mean, there's a lot of injuries for the Eagles, especially on receiver. Deshaun Jackson going out early. That's what I meant.
You got Alshon Jeffrey regularly injured. Soft tissue injury as well, which is bad. So you had Arcega-Whiteside, who didn't really jump to the occasion. They did take a lot of wide receivers, and Rager as well is a bit of a burner. I mean, for you, Gray, are you with Paul on this Eagles draft?
Just to add something as well. Like, I know that we mentioned, like, Prince Tega was a good steal, but I actually still think, like, Jack Driscoll from the same school with Auburn is still a good pick. Like, in terms of addressing the offensive line, they've actually got 2 players that they actually play side by side each other. So it'll be a more natural fit for them to go into that offensive line more naturally that way. So, but yeah, sorry.
No, you're totally right. I mean, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we all know that, especially in pass protection, it's a dance, you know. And if you know your dance partner's moves, you're already a winner. So I mean, are you with Paul on this? Are you disappointed with their draft, Gray?
I can see why they went so wide receiver heavy, but again, like Paul, what were they doing in the second round?
I don't know what that was.
I think it's a blaring red light that they cannot trust Carson Palmer.
It's the greatest. It's the greatest highlight reel.
Carson Wentz.
It might be better with Carson Palmer.
I think it's an admission that they don't think Wentz can play 16 games.
Definitely.
Either that, or they've taken Hurts to trade him in a year's time for a 1st round pick. On some, that's the. I've been scraping the barrel since. That's the only other thing I can think of.
Here's a question: do you think they're trying to do what the Patriots did when they drafted Garoppolo in the second?
There's every chance. But I think it's huge confidence from the Eagles that they feel they have the roster to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
When you have so many gaping holes on their offensive skill position players. Just to add on, I don't know if this has been updated recently, but they signed 3 safeties in free agency. They signed McLeod, Mills, and Parks. Now, what if they're going to move one of them to corner? But then they've gone ahead and
I think Mills has been moved to corner
on Darius Slay. So
that's the biggest free agent signing they did.
But again, do you know what that? They have picked up on wide receiver, but again, it's very, very young. I kept hearing speed.
Yeah.
So they want to go with a running game short and the long ball over the top, obviously. So, as much as I want to diss on their draft, and
you want to,
they haven't added a wide receiver in free agency, to say the least. They haven't. They've not gone for any experience. If anything, they've lost Aguilar. There's still that voice in the back of my head that goes, they won the division last year.
Let's be honest, Aguilar wasn't exactly special, was he?
Exactly.
A lot of drop passes.
Yeah. So, like you say, a lot of injuries. And you just wonder, what is the real Eagles?
So, I mean, for you, Bri, I mean, we'll skip your take on the draft, but the roster, because I know you've done a lot of work on rosters. How do you see this roster? Is it a winning roster? Are they going to be the most competitive NFC East team against the Cowboys?
Against the Cowboys, yeah. But looking further than that, no. This is not a good roster. There are two main needs going into the draft. What they needed were cornerbacks and linebackers. They have 5 linebackers. That's it. They drafted a couple of guys late. Took a couple of punts on them. They traded their 3rd and their 5th to get Darius Slay. He's the only cornerback they have. He's obviously going to start. Sidney Jones will start opposite him, but then their depth it's pretty poor, And then, as we said, they're at linebackers with Nate Jerry, Duke Riley, John Brown, who they picked up in free agency, TJ Edwards, and Andrew Singleton. That's it. That's who they have at linebacker.
So
they are abysmal.
Do you think then Fletcher Cox is still the same Fletcher Cox as what we used to?
Yeah, Fletcher Cox is Fletcher Cox. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can take it. They were clever with what they did with their defensive line. They kept it together. It's the strength of their team. He's getting after quarterback, creating pressure up the middle from the outside. They have a huge rotation of players there. I think they have something like 14, 15 players they can rotate in and out there. They're 4 deep at some of those positions, So they're set there, but outside of that, they are paper thin.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go to you, Paul. Yep. Right. The Eagles' home schedule. Right. Obviously, Cowboys, Giants, Redskins. Right. Then we got the Rams, the Seahawks, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Saints. Now, for me, there's a couple of teams in there that can certainly play against their strengths to take them away. But out of what you can see, what they got at home, what's their over and under?
Sorry, minimum and max. Sorry.
Yes.
Minimum of 3.
Okay.
Max of 6. Because they do have, the reason I'm saying 6 is because they can really turn it up, especially in the later stages of the season at home. So that's what I'm kind of thinking towards that. But even if it's against us, and it's proven that time and time for the past couple of seasons, they've kind of did that to us. When we needed to win that game, they've always turned up.
So in terms of the minimum 3 and the maximum 6, one of the teams they beat from that 3 and 6 is one of them the Cowboys?
No, it would be the Giants, the Bengals, and possibly the Redskins. That's the minimum for you. I still think they'll beat the Redskins at home.
Yeah, I mean, so the maximum then.
Maximum Cowboys would be in that, yes.
Yeah. That's what I've looked at. I think they would be splitting wins on the season as they regularly do.
If you were to take us out, it would be 3 and 5, but...
Yeah. I'm with you there. I'm totally with you there. Are you the same, Bri? Have you got an over and under on the...
I'd go 4 and 6.
4 and 6. And are you the same on the 6 side as one of the teams they beat the Cowboys?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
But again, as I kind of said to the Redskins, it depends on when we get them, because for some reason they always give us the Eagles at home in October, and we play them at fucking Lincoln Financial in week 16 or 17.
Yeah, that's it.
So
the way we play them last.
That could be one where they get us.
It's almost like we're waiting for the schedule to come out Thursday, and we know the Giants are going to be played week 1, and the Eagles are going to be played 16 and 17.
Yeah.
You can't even eat it.
I know, you just know it's coming, don't you? But what about you, Greg? What's your over and under on the Eagles' home schedule?
Do you know what? Again, that little voice in the back of my head is talking to me. We go back to last season, and we're sitting there at week 14 or week 13. The Eagles were 5-7, looked like nobodies, and they won in December and went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was with the wide receiver core that they had. They have now gone and supplemented that. So, as much as it pains me, I'm going to say a minimum of 5.
That's what I've got.
Yeah.
And a maximum of 7.
Ooh. Okay.
We've kind of ripped through their draft a little bit.
Yeah.
But they have gone and done that for a reason.
Yeah.
They find a way to win.
I'm not saying it's the right reason, but they think they're ready. And to go and take a QB with the second round pick, that only shows that they think they're ready. So they've gone and added a couple of stud players, like they've brought in Slay and they've brought in Hargrave, and they think that then it looks like they've fixed their wide receiver problem in the long term anyway. Jalen Reagor in the first round, no, but second round probably. So he's not a dud. Let's face it, he's not a dud. So
I've got a sneaky feeling, right, that Stanford, the play they took last year, Stanford's wide receiver, Arcega-Whiteside, I mean, he had a stormer in college, and I think give him a year of development, and you're going to see him turn it on. Kind of like a little bit of a Michael Gallup for us, you know?
I would have more went with Juju Smith-Schuster. That kind of a comparison, because he was like Gallup was productive for us in his first year. Arcega-Whiteside did nothing.
He didn't do much. No,
I
don't even know what that's up. But the thing you can't take away, mind you, from the Eagles' offense is their tight end core. They do that is solid. But okay then, Paul. On the Eagles' away schedule. We've got the Cardinals, the Browns, the Cowboys, the Packers, which would be, I think, is an interesting game. I think that's
Hearts versus love.
Yeah. I just think that's quite an interesting game.
Can you imagine that? How they advertise it? Love Hearts. Oh, that'd be amazing.
That is pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, Packers, I think that's going to be a bit of a decider for them. Then you got Giants, Steelers, 49ers, Redskins. What's your over and under on their away on that particular schedule?
Minimum of 3, maximum of 4.
Okay. So give me the maximum then. Where are those wins coming from?
Browns, Giants.
Redskins?
Yes, and I'm going to say it again. I just don't think the Steelers are going to have a great season at all. I really don't. I just think they're going to be doing a rebuilding season, just trying to lower, unless they actually win 5 in a row somehow. But I just don't see them doing well, because they didn't have a first round draft pick or anything this year, did they?
Steelers.
Steelers did not.
So they didn't really do much in free agency as well. I mean, there's a lot of players that have actually kind of obviously they traded up to get Minka Fitzpatrick, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, offensively,
okay. Do you think the Cowboys get a win at Financial Field?
No, this is the away games.
Yes, that's right.
No, they'll be away to us.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm doing it the wrong way around. So you think that the Cowboys beat the Eagles at home more than likely then?
Absolutely.
Okay then. Give it to me then, Bright. You're over and under on the Eagles away roster. Roster schedule. I tell you what. Yeah. All right. Great. Hit me with it.
I'm gonna lower the away expectation a little bit because they've got potentially quite a few games in the snow.
Yeah.
Redskins, Steelers, Packers,
Giants,
Browns.
Most of them are outdoor.
So you could find that their speed receivers get slowed down in the snow.
And 49ers can, San Francisco can be a cold place to play if you're playing in December.
It could be.
I think it's only Arizona and Dallas is the two only indoor arenas.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
That's right.
1, 2.
Yeah.
Just two out of.
It is.
2 out of 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
So I would go.
Good point.
I would go with. I'm going to take it down slightly and a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5. I would say, but that's see for your road record. That's still good. That's enough to win your division.
Yeah, definitely. With those sort of teams as well. Definitely. I'll do mine in a minute. But Bri, you with us now? Just check. Are you with us, Bri? Don't think he's with us. No. Bri? No. Okay.
No.
So basically, out of the 3 NFC East teams, we're pretty much in agreement looking at what we've said here, that Giants, a bit of a wild card team. They're the most up and down in terms of the upper score. We're all pretty much in agreement with where the Redskins are at, upper and lower. And then looking at this, the Eagles, we've all pretty much around the double-digit marks in wins on the upper scale for the Eagles. So that would make them, I think, in the NFC East, I don't know what you guys think, the first team to 10 wins. Would you agree? 10 wins?
50-50. 50-50. It's between us and Philly.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
But so much uncertainty. Like it's either going to be one or the other. I don't see it being Giants or Redskins because
they still got development.
They've still got a fair bit to go. Mine's left.
Yeah.
It as much as our offensive firepower is looking, I don't know that. So many question marks over our defense. Adam Diggs, I like the Diggs move, but who's going to play with him? Is Clinton Dix going to be the player we want him to be? Do Poe and McCoy still have it in the tank? Can we get double-digit sacks out of Lawrence? These are all questions. I don't think nobody's got the answers for it just at the moment. But
don't forget our other nose tackles as well. We've still got Woods. We've still got our new signing, my favourite, Gallimore.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So yes, that does wrap up nicely the NFC East breakdown for ourselves. Now, of course, for I've just got to mute Brian there while he's trying to figure out what's going on his end. The only news we've got in terms of the show is we were going to do an end of season special coming up, but with the recent changes and everything that's happening in season 1 now is extending all the way through May and into June. So look out for whatever it is we're going to put together. You got any suggestions or anything interesting you want to send our way for shows? We'd be willing to listen. I need to give a shout out to Cowboys Experience. I beat you to it this week, Paul. If you're going to go with anyone this year to the Cowboys games, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. Use the code as well, UK Cowboys, for that gift package. And stay with us as well as we bring you more guests and more shows to keep you entertained during the lockdown. I don't know if you guys have got anything to add before we end the show.
Not I can think of. We were supposed to have a special guest today, but obviously a schedule conflict kind of got in the way of some of the potential big news coming along the way. So, but yeah, we'll hope to have our good friend at Dallas Cowboys, Shannon Gross, host of Hanging Off the Boys, to join us next week.
And we will be looking next week, obviously, at Cowboys news. And we're going to do an all-star draft brought in by one of our listeners. So we're going to get our thinking caps on. And we'll take it from there and see what we come up with. But from myself, Paul, Graham, and Brian, who's trying to figure out whatever's going on his end. He's on and off at the moment, so that's going to take some editing. We will see you next week. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, the podcast, and everywhere else. And we will see you again next week, guys. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks again, Brian. Thanks again.
See you next
week. Bye, guys. Bye, night.